I went there for a weekend workshop with Wim Hof. The first day we had to go into an ice bath. I think that I was the last guy that went in because I was really quite scared actually. And he's just saying, focus on the breath, long breaths, focus on the breath. And then I just felt a complete serenity and calm, coming over me, and a feeling of warmness. My girlfriend actually told me that my posture really changed, became more upright. That she could really see the transition happening only within this 6 months of doing Angamardana. I found this Isha Kriya online once a day for 40 days. And I noticed just the calmness within me and the space that actually came back. Space that I noticed was there during this Vippasana retreat. And this resulted into a sense of freedom to choose how I responded to certain situations. Instead of just reacting, just 12 minutes, it transformed me in a big way. I think that this spring of 2017 was the first spring that I actually fully experienced.
Namaskaram everybody, and welcome back to the podcast. In today's episode we have Rob from the Netherlands. I invited him because I saw certain posts that he made on social media, and I thought that his perspective was very, very interesting. So I got in touch with him and I got to know that he was actually at the ashram when I was there for sadhana. He told me about him trying out the Wim Hof method and seeking through traveling, and how that traveling brought him to Tibet and to Kailash, certain experiences that he had there. And so I was like, please come onto the podcast. And so I hope you enjoyed this one.
So I'm from the Netherlands. I'm 29 years of age, and I live in a very small village at the moment called Krel. It's only like 1,500 population, so it's not very big, very quiet. So when you wake up here in the morning, you hear the birds. It's quite nice. And I actually grew up in a similar sized village, not too far away from here. And my youth was really, it was quite nice. Nothing extraordinary. I had a lovely family that took care of me. And I was a bit rebellious, most of my youth. So in school, I had some difficulty with authority for authority's sakes. So that was happening. But I was a lot involved in sports. I played soccer for 11 years, and I tried boxing and rugby. Did running, fitness. So it was nice. I think it was a nice youth. I actually, like cycling is pretty big here in the Netherlands. And for me to get to my secondary school, we always had to cycle for like 10 kilometers, which is nice, it keeps you fit. What else could I tell about my youth? I think, like in terms of when the seeking started, that was around the age of 21, 22. So I was in university, studying international business administration, and at a certain point, I noticed that I was getting a cold, like a runny nose and sore throat, a lot. And so I went to the doctor and asked, how is this possible? Because I'm, very active, sporty, and not doing too crazy with my food, I guess. And so they did some tests, and the diagnosis was that I had house dust mite allergy. And that it is chronic, a chronic ailment, an autoimmune disease. And so they gave me medicine for it because it became really severe. Sometimes having a cold for 3 months. All my sinuses blocked, my ears were blocked. So it was quite detrimental. And so I asked the doctor, can I fix this? Because, I'm still young and I don't really like to have this. And she told me that no, the only possible way to get rid of this is taking more medicine. And that didn't sit well with me. I actually wanted to see if I could get rid of it in some other way. And then I came across this book called The New Evolution Diet. And it's based on the ancient ways of living that are in line with the hunter-gatherers. And so it involved quite a lot of meat, actually. But a lot of it was also fresh food. And many of the things that I was reading in this book were creating these light bulb moments from, oh, wait, maybe I shouldn't eat grains or dairy and, so much sugars, because the diet in the Netherlands is in the morning you eat a bread, and bread with peanut butter or
just like in Germany, yes.
yeah,
Marmalade, butter.
Yeah, so a lot of bread, a lot of potatoes,
Yes.
and sugary stuff. Like my bread would be filled with hagelslag. It's like, I don't know if you have it in Germany. It's small pieces of chocolate, and you just sprinkle them over your bread. And this is very common. So yeah, it was dairy and gluten, like all that. But then this book was telling me, like, based on the hunter-gatherer lifestyle, we have seen also in studies that it might be better not to have these foods in your system, because they create inflammation, and the inflammation can lead to a malfunctioning immune system. So I was like, whoa, this makes a lot of sense, So I went cold turkey. I switched my diet, and within 2 months of switching my diet to this Paleolithic diet, hunter-gatherer diet, I noticed that I didn't have the colds anymore. So then I also tried to go without any medicine, and that also worked very well. So after a while, I was just free of symptoms, free of medicine, and that actually created a bit of cracks in the matrix system, so to speak, because all of a sudden, what the status quo was saying, what the doctor was saying, turned out to be not necessarily true. There was an alternative way. It was not a chronic ailment. I could be healthy without medicine. So then the seeking started big time. I was getting very interested in psychology, reading about power of the mind, philosophy, so Stoic philosophy like Marcus Aurelius and Seneca, and their views on life. And along the way, I actually encountered that this man. His name is Wim Hof. I don't know if you heard of him.
Yes. He recently talked to Sadhguru as well. But yes, his method is widespread. I think everybody knows about him.
Yeah, he became very, very popular, and I'm very happy for that. And I was so happy actually when I saw that Wim and Sadhguru were meeting in one interview. I was like, what? This is too good to be true, because Wim had a big influence on me. This was in 2014. I just switched to the diet, so I saw all these things, that what the mind and the body were capable of. And then I saw Wim Hof doing extreme feats, like he would climb up Mount Everest, not entirely to the top, but he would get to the death zone. It's like 7,200 meters, I think, in shorts, not wearing any.
Barefoot also, right? I think.
Sorry?
Barefoot also, right?
No, he was wearing sandals at the time.
Okay. I saw him hike also barefoot in the snow.
Yeah, he did that as well. He actually completed a marathon within the polar circle area, barefoot, barefoot. So yeah, when I saw that, I was blown away, and I had the opportunity because at the time I was working for a software company, and I had this budget that you could allocate to self-development. So I thought, okay, what a good way to develop myself by following a course from Wim Hof. You know, I can go beyond my limits, and so that's what I did. I applied for it, and yeah, this was I think the first encounter with the self or with a meditative state. So I went there for a weekend workshop with Wim Hof, and the first day we had to go into an ice bath. So it was like a tub filled with ice, and I was just nervous. And like, I know I actually went. I think that I was the last guy that went in because I was really quite scared actually. And but then I went in, and he's just saying, focus on the breath, you know, long breaths, focus on the breath. And I did that. And then I just felt a complete serenity and calm, you know, coming over me, and a feeling of warmness, you know, like it was just warm within me. So I could just sit in the ice bath without any problem, you know. And that was such a revelation. And
Powerful
after that,
experience.
yeah, it really was. And so yeah, that's how it actually continued. And a part of his method is also breathing, and a bit of meditation, some yoga postures as well. And so that's when I first got introduced to the concept of yoga, and also to this meditative state. And it actually progressed into more seeking. I wanted to know more about this, and I started practicing it more and more. And sometimes it led to some funny situations because if you're like, I was at the time living in a city called Breda in the south, and there is a lake there. So what I would do is I would just run to the lake and then do some breathing exercises and then go into the lake, but also in the winter time. And at one stage I was sitting in the lake, very quiet, because you literally, I think, reach this meditative state, at least in my experience. And then I heard these noises. So there were two people walking their dog in the forest and the lake, or next to the lake. And they were saying, "What's that in the water? Oh, it looks like a body. It's not moving."
Oh.
They thought I was, you know, there was like a body just floating there. But and then I said, no, no, no worries. It's just me. You know, I'm like, I'm good. I'm good. So yeah, that happened. But then to continue a bit more, I was looking into the school of life from Ellen Breton. It's like a philosopher, and then looking into Stoic philosophy, and then I encountered some material online about Buddhism that really appealed to me. And from like before I saw Buddhism, from what I knew, that it's like a religion. But when I was reading this, it's like, no, it's like almost Stoic philosophy. So I got really really into that. And so yeah, I think that's how the seeking really started, with an ailment that opened my mind up also to other possibilities. Then Wim Hof, he was like the Upa guru. So he set me up for some more seeking and very nice meditative experiences. And then I wanted to seek more and also to travel. So because I was working in this company, and I was around 23 at the time. Was doing, yeah, quite well. I had an apartment, nice BMW, but I felt this like emptiness or restlessness, and I always had this dream of traveling, doing a big journey around the world. And now I had this new open mind and some courage. So I thought like, okay, I'm just gonna do it. I'm gonna go and travel. So I quit my job and then left the apartment. And with the acceptance from my girlfriend, because at the time I was also in a relationship, and she allowed me to go and travel for 7 months. And yeah, I was really fortunate, that she actually wanted me to go by myself as well, because she was still in university.
Mm.
So yeah, that's when I decided to travel, because there was a seeking. I was not. I felt like, okay, if this is it, I'm just sitting here in my office. Um, yeah, I can progress my career, earn more money, get a bigger house, all that. But it didn't make sense to me. I wanted to live and
Mm.
not save up to live, because I heard these people, they were wanting to save up for their pension and then go and travel. But for
Mm.
me, that didn't make any sense. I don't know what my health is when I'm 60 or 70, or even if I'm there, or what the world situation is. So now I could save up a little bit of money. And so I wanted to do it now. So I decided to travel.
Mm.
And yeah, and then I actually end up going by train from Russia to Tibet. So it
Oh.
is, yeah, it's quite a nice journey. Trans-Mongolian highway, they call it, or
Mm.
railway, sorry. And so yeah, it goes from Moscow through Siberia, Mongolia, and then into Beijing. And then all the way from Beijing in China, I also wanted to travel a bit more and see Tibet. And that's where I encountered, the Buddhist monks. And they really fascinated me. And later on, I traveled into Thailand as well. But the thing was, even though I was now traveling, I had all the freedom, and, I had some money. I still didn't feel like, oh, this is it, or it was still
Mm.
seeking and restlessness. And when I talked to you before, I sent you this, topic like restless or unhappy in paradise. That's
Mm.
really how I felt. I was on Koh Phi Phi Island, just surrounded by this magnificent beauty and beautiful nature, and I was free. I had money, and still I didn't feel happy. And then I went to Malaysia, and I met this guy. He's from France, also traveling quite a lot, and Geoffrey is his name. And he mentioned that he went to this monastery in a Buddhist monastery in Chiang Mai in Thailand for a Vipassana meditation retreat. And he talked about how he could go beyond the concept of body, and when he was very much in pain, that through this Vipassana meditation technique, he could actually get rid of the pain. And this story stuck with me a lot. And I felt like, oh, maybe I have to do this someday. And
Mm.
then for a while, I did some other things. I worked in Australia, but I was constantly confronted with this longing, to know more, and this restlessness. And I also saw many things around me that didn't really sit well with me. Like at the time, I was working for the Nature Conservancy in Australia to raise funds in Brisbane, and I was talking a lot about how to conserve nature and to save the trees. But also, when I was doing this work out in the streets and in the shopping centers, I saw many people that were struggling with their health, looking very unhappy, and I just wanted to help a lot. And I was confronted with all this suffering. So then I really felt like, okay, I have to just get out of here, get into a retreat. And this Vipassana meditation course in Chiang Mai, it's called a meditation retreat. And for me at the time, I thought retreat, oh, nice, I can relax and,
Mm.
you know,
Yes.
be calm. And yeah, just coming from this city that was so full on, and, a lot of things going on. So I signed up for it, not really knowing much about it. So yeah, this was in 2016.
But
I
it's
went to
crazy. I mean, you just thought, okay, I'm going to travel for 7 months, and you go straight like almost the whole, like, you go to Asia. I know many people from Europe, they will just travel in Europe and be safe on the safe side. How was that for you? Did you just feel drawn to go far away, or
yeah.
because
So
Australia and then like everything just seems like almost the whole world?
yeah, for me, when I was at the time looking where to go and travel, I I saw this on the television about the Trans-Mongolian
Mm,
Express, and that really appealed to me. And then I saw some people riding the sleigh dogs in Siberia, because if you're doing this railway track, like I did, you have the option to get off the train at certain stations and just spend some time there. So I stayed in near Lake Baikal, which is in Siberia.
mhm.
And yeah, it just appealed to me that I feel that I'm quite self-sufficient, but how to test this really? So if I go and travel on my own to these places, that's a way of really knowing, if I can rely on myself instead of relying on what others say. And so yeah, that's what really appealed to me. And
How was
and
that
I was
traveling?
also reading an article online about traveling to Tibet that also appealed to me. And it was talking about how this train journey, it's from Xining, this place in China, to Lhasa in Tibet. They call it the Heaven Train because it's the highest train track in the world. And yeah, this also really appealed to me. I wanted to experience this.
Mm.
And yeah, in terms of safety, I never really, yeah, gave it much attention. Although I had some moments where I felt a bit unsafe. There were these moments. Yeah.
Mm. Yes, I mean, for me, I felt the same. I had the same longing to see the world, For me, it was South America, Central America, and then later India was a longing. But yeah, Europe. Whenever I traveled Europe, I was always like, I already know this.
Yeah.
Everything is so similar, and so I can understand why. But I feel like it takes courage, to travel by yourself. And I'm sure you
Yeah.
learned a lot while traveling by yourself.
Yes. Yes. I was confronted many times with with some limitations that I had, some prejudice towards China, for example, and Chinese people, and that the Russians didn't like Western people. That's what they always tell here in the Netherlands. If you if you look at the mainstream news.
Mm.
And my family at the time, they were also thinking and saying to me, Rob, are you sure you want to go to Russia? Because this was in 2015, just before, in the fall. Yeah, I think it was autumn of 2014. You had this tension at the Crimea area. So they said, oh, it's not wise to go there. But what I noticed is the people are so friendly. Everywhere that I did go, I had the most beautiful conversations with people on the train in Siberia. And some of them, they didn't speak English, but they had this iPad or with their phone, and they translated what they wanted to say. So I had entire conversations with people on their iPad, and they were also wonderful. So the governments may be fighting, but the citizens, they, at least during these travels, I had wonderful experiences, and very humbling as well, because I was going to China and making use of this couch surfing
Mm.
platform. Maybe you've heard about
Yes,
this.
yes.
And there was this guy, Ping Li. He has hosted over 200 people already in Beijing. And when I arrived there, it turns out that he was living in a very small apartment with 3 people, and he only had a bedroom basically, and one, like wooden plank where you could lay upon, and then a good bed. And he would just give the good bed to the people he was hosting because he wanted to share. But he did not have much to share actually, if you would look at this situation. But he just loved it to do it. So I saw this, and it was very, very humbling, because in the Netherlands, yeah, like I saw myself included in the past, and many others. They are always in it for themselves mostly. They're very individualistic, and in these parts of the world, I noticed just how much people were giving, even though they didn't have much. They're always offering their house or food, or in Thailand as well. Just wonderful people everywhere. So yeah, that that was really a really nice experience. And
I love the painting that you have back there. Also, the Buddhist monk.
Yeah, the Buddha.
Buddha. Oh, the Buddha. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, and the other one is I don't know what it is. Yeah, it's like a face, and a friend of ours is a painter, and she gave it to us. And the Buddha painting was also given by I think somebody left it for us when we were entering our last apartment. They just left it there. So yeah, it's a good reminder of Buddha, because he plays such a beautiful role also in my life. If Wim Hof would be Upa Guru, then Buddha would be like the one following up, because when I was in Chiang Mai, it was 10-day silence retreat, very intense. You had to wake up at 4 in the morning, only 2 meals in the morning, and it was just silence and meditating for 12 hours in a day. And it was really, really intense. But this was the first time that I experienced this state of actually observing, and then having the body and the mind, having body having sensations, and the mind, the thoughts coming and going, emotions coming and going. And there was this observing dimension that all of a sudden was there. That was really the first time that I experienced this dimension. And it really transformed me in a big way, this experience. But they gave me some homework that if you go away from this retreat, you can do 20 minutes or 40 minutes in the morning of Vipassana, which is basically watching the breath. I don't know if you done Vipassana, because
No, I have not. I've only heard about it, that Gautama, the Buddha, that he taught it to the people that he was not able to spend sufficient time with. And then Shunya was the practice, which is part of the Isha practices. So Shunya is a practice that he taught to the people that he was able to spend sufficient time with. So he had different batches of practices for different people. I have a friend who did it, and she had a beautiful experience, but it was hard for her to keep it up. How was it for you?
For me, it was also very hard to keep it up. There were 3 moments in these 10 days that I was about to quit. It's just, I didn't really had much previous experience with meditation. And all of a sudden you're there 10 days, 12 hours a day, and it's just sitting, which is agony if you're not used to it. For me, it was agony. And then also the mind, it just alone with your mind. And I noticed sometimes the mind created these horrible scenarios that became very vivid. So even though I was only there like 3 days, I saw these scenarios coming up. Maybe something happened with my girlfriend, or my grandparents passed away when I'm here, and I'm disconnected from the world, because you can't bring any mobile phone, you can't bring nothing to read or write, or it's just you in white clothes and meditating, no speaking. So yeah, my mind was going crazy. So that's why it was quite difficult. But I also had a bit of luck actually, because normally you're required to sit in Sadhguru, for example, to meditate. But just a few months before that, I had broken a little bone in my foot, my right foot, because of overuse with running. And because of this, they allowed me to sit on a chair. I think this saved me actually, because if I was supposed to be sitting in Sadhguru then for 10 days straight, like so many hours, the agony would just probably not, I wouldn't cope probably. Yeah. So yeah, it was difficult. Some people from the group that I was with, they also did not finish it. But yeah, it transformed me in a big way. And yeah, it set me up for some more seeking, because I felt like, oh, this is not really it. I'm looking for something else. And I was reading Eckhart Tolle at the time, The Power of Now. And that is an amazing book. Have you read it? Read it as well?
I have not read it. I've met a lot of people at the center at the ashram in India who have read it, and who kind of through Eckhart Tolle, continued the journey into looking deeper. And I love his videos, but I never read a book of him. Even though he's German.
Yeah. I was about to ask. I think he's German. Basically,
yes.
His accent is. It's nice. Nice to have somebody like that amongst your population. That, like, similarly, I'm quite proud that Wim Hof is from the Netherlands. So so for me, actually, it went quite the same. So I read this book, and I wanted to know more. Then I read an autobiography of a yogi. And they started talking about Kriya. So this was the first time I heard about Kriya. So I was looking for something about Kriyas on YouTube. And this was in the end of 2016, I think December. And I saw this video from a guy with a turban and a beard. But I thought, okay, well, why not? I want to know more from Kriya. Go and see what he has to say. But then he was speaking logic in a way that, Seneca and Marcus Aurelius, all these big philosophers, they seemed like kindergarten level to what he was saying. Talking about light bulb moments every time I was watching a Sadhguru videos, like many light bulb moments. And so yeah, this is where I got introduced to Sadhguru, and I started doing the Isha Kriya, because I found this Isha Kriya online, and with once a day for 40 days. This was like January 2017, and I noticed just the calmness within me, and the space that actually came back. Space that I noticed was there during this Vippasana retreat also came back now. And this resulted into a sense of freedom to choose how I responded to certain situations instead of just reacting, and yeah, it's interesting to see how such a small exercise, just 12 minutes, it transformed me in a big way. I think that this spring of 2017 was the first spring that I actually fully experienced, like seeing the flowers come up, and just noticing the smells in the air from spring smells, you know.
Mm.
Yeah, it's just at the time I was riding my bicycle to my work, and it was just super joyful experience, you know, ecstatic almost. So I don't know what happened then. Isha Kriya happened. I know that happened, and a lot of videos and a lot of reading, but it was just amazing. And actually, if what also happened is maybe interesting to add. I before used to drink alcohol with my friends. So, but what I noticed when I was doing the Isha Kriya meditation, even if I would just have one beer, then it took me like 3 or 4 days to recover in terms of awareness, in terms of having this space to react consciously to a certain situation. So I felt this is not, it's not worth it, because if I have the space, I can just be joyful if I want to be. I don't need anything to be joyful. Not that I really needed that beforehand, but whenever you were in company, you were just drinking alcohol. I don't know, it's like in the Netherlands, it's part of the culture almost. In Germany as well, I think.
Yes, yes, definitely, yes, yes. It was a big, coming back when I would visit friends, they would always offer me alcohol, and I was like, I don't want to say no every time, but I really don't like how I feel when I drink. It's
Yeah,
not like I have anything against it. If you want to drink, I'm not going to tell you not to drink. But in my experience, it doesn't feel good for me. So
yeah,
I do my best to stay away. But certain situations come up where you're celebrating someone's birthday or someone's marriage, and you're like, okay, I'm going to toss on with you, but I'm not really going to, I don't really enjoy having this drink, so I'm not going to continue drinking the whole
yeah,
night.
yeah. Yeah, it really resonates with me, because at the time it was exactly like that. And yeah, I just made the decision not to drink anymore. So the last drink was a Guinness with my sister. We were going to a nice beach area and just have some quality time with my sister, and then yeah, this Guinness was my last drink. But yeah, it's funny how also social situations seem to be they were changing after that. I saw that some people we didn't exactly appreciate that I did not drink alcohol anymore, even though I was not against alcohol, just like you said. If people wanted to drink alcohol, I'm totally fine. But they were just like, yeah, it's something. I had some defensive remarks, even though I did not say anything that was attacking the alcohol. It's just
Yes,
that not me drinking alcohol anymore. So that
it's
was
kind of
interesting.
offensive, that you're not doing what they're doing for
Yeah.
them.
Yeah, that's probably it. It's like same when I transitioned to a vegan diet. You know,
Yeah,
uh,
I would love to know more about that, because you were paleo and it helped you actually recover. So
yeah,
it did something for you, but then you chose to go away from that. How was that?
yeah. So this was. I can continue on the timeline because it will soon end up in this story actually. So yeah, I was so obsessed with Sadhguru, and I wanted to go there. Actually, I wanted to go to India and go and sit at Dhyana Linga, note, feel and see what that is. Because I did not know anything about yoga or meditation except for Vipassana. So I just wanted to see it for myself because it was resonating so much with me. So I wanted to go for inner engineering and then where at the source, so where it came from. And my girlfriend at the time, she was, or fiance actually, yeah, we're engaged, but I always call her girlfriend. She was finishing her university degree, so it was going through quite some stressful moments. And I also noticed that how it affected her if I was going away for long traveling. So I felt, even though I did not do in engineering yet, that we should go there together, because it was almost her birthday, and I felt like what is a nicer gift to give than a tool or technology in which she can be independently happy, even though if I would not be around, she would be able to be happy and not too stressful in these situations, like with finishing her education. So that's when I decided, okay, we're going together. So I booked the tickets to Coimbatore and applied for the in engineering retreat, which is like a 4-day residential program in the ashram. And this was in October. And another factor that was very important for me was that I wanted to see Sadhguru, but his schedule is like insane. And this was September 2017 when Rally for Rivers was being launched. So he had like 30 days of non-stop traveling. And I saw his schedule, and that between the end of September and like 11th of October, there were like 10 days that I thought there was a big chance that he would be in the ashram so that I could maybe see him. And so I looked at the in engineering retreat schedule. Yeah, there was one actually, the 5th of October. There was one happening. And so I said, okay, let's go then. And so, yeah, I went there with Chantal. And Chantal is my girlfriend. And for her, it was a big culture shock as well. Not only India, but the ashram as well, because I was reading everything I could. So I had this conditioning already from, if people are doing this, it's not necessarily because they are religious. There's something more behind it. Dhyana Linga, they call it a temple, but what we refer to a temple previously, or how Chantal would refer to it, I know like that there's a big difference in that. And so for her, she was not very much aware of that. So for her, it was like, well, why am I here? What's all this religious stuff going on? And it's like for her, it was a big culture shock. And what also added to that situation is that even though we were traveling, I traveled to Asia quite a bit. I always told my girlfriend that I never wanted to go to India. I really had this idea about India that it's not appealing. It's like dirty and poor and all these things. I had a big aversion towards India. But now, because of Sadhguru and what I experienced with Isha Kriya, I wanted to go there so bad. I wanted to experience, and I saw that this country contributed so much in terms of spirituality. I want to soak it all up. So we went there, and I did an engineering retreat with Chantal. And on the second day of the retreat, there was this pamphlet in the ashram saying Sadhguru is coming back from the Rally for Rivers, and he will be coming in at like midnight. So I'm like, oh, I just, I felt really thrilled. I have to be there. I wanted to see him so bad. And then I asked the teacher of the program if I could please, go and be there for the welcoming party. And he said, well, you have to pay attention and be able to focus during the class. So if you can handle it and you get enough sleep, then you're good to go. You can go. So I was so happy that I could go. And it was really a magical experience, actually, because it was in the midnight, and I was walking towards Adiyogi, and in front of the Adiyogi statue, they have they made these big rows of people, ashram residents, and the brahmacharis were there. Everybody was there, and they were all holding on to torches, and they were also making the music and chanting. And in the distance, I saw a crowd was coming closer and closer to Adiyogi, and I just started trembling, and just in the anticipation, I guess, from seeing Sadhguru for real for the first time. And yeah, when he came closer and closer, I just I was totally broken. Like I started crying like a little kid. And this was a very amazing experience. So that was the first encounter.
I love this sharing so much because you're not the first person that I met. I don't know how you were before, but for me and for people who have shared their experience, I was very masculine. Like I thought if I cry, that's a very bad thing to do. I should never cry. And so only because of yoga, the science of yoga, the technology of yoga, and spending time at the ashram, I started to feel like actually it feels so good when you cry. And so yeah, it's such a wonderful experience that you had there. Very powerful.
Yeah. And it is like you say, this masculine aspect was really very much there, and like idolizing someone was also not part of my previous experience. And all of a sudden I was just there, and it happened. I did not have a chance. It was not something that I was believing in something, or mental construct. I was just there, and I broke down in tears. That is what happened.
Mm.
I can't make it any other way. And yeah, and after that, many more times actually, that this similar situations happened.
Mm.
And now it comes to the masculine aspect, because at the time I was indeed still eating paleo diet, eating 3 times a day, a lot of meat, and also going to the gym a lot. I weighed 10 kilos more at the time, mostly muscles. And yeah, so this 2 week period of being in the ashram, which was really a blissful experience. It's just heaven over there, and especially like the first time. I ate only vegetarian for 2 weeks, no meat, nothing, and I lost quite a bit of weight. But what I also noticed is that my meditation became deeper, and that I didn't require that much sleep anymore.
Mm.
So this really triggered me into, okay, let me just apply this. Let me apply this at home as well. And so yeah, that's how I transitioned. And I didn't go like cold turkey. So I still was eating eggs, still did that. But yeah, this is like a natural transition again. It was not some ideology. I felt the experience of not eating meat and the benefits of it. And that's why I decided not to do it anymore.
Mm.
And not because I'm against it. It's like everybody can make up their own mind about their foods. So yeah, and even though like it wasn't an easy transition, I have to say, because I was finding it difficult, I think, to get enough protein. At the time, I really was focusing on that. And as a way of getting protein, I was eating a lot of nuts and seeds. And but this was not very helpful for my digestion, actually, for my bowels. They were they were protesting quite a bit. And I also felt like I was lacking some essential minerals. I saw it on my nails and the quality of my skin. So this transition took me a while to really see what was working for me, and like a protein powder, because at the time I wanted to have a good protein powder, vegan. Well, finding a good one is very, very difficult, it seems. But eventually I found one that doesn't contain the metals. No, it's not metals. There are some components to this that are toxic. I think they call it heavy metals or something, and anti-nutrients. So anti-nutrients like phytates, saponin, lectins. These are in the outer shell of a nut and seed. And if you ingest too much of that actually causes damage to the inner lining of the bowels, actually, of the gut. And so yeah, finding one that didn't have these things was quite a challenge. So for example, within Isha, they also say to soak your groundnuts. This is to get rid of this outer layer also that contains these anti-nutrients. But yeah, so it took me a while to transition.
Yeah, and I understand. It takes time. You have to really read into the science of eating without meat, because all your life you have been taught how to eat with meat. So now you have to figure out yourself how to eat without it, because nobody teaches that, right? So it takes time.
Yeah, but it was really worth it, and it contributed also to shedding layers, because when I first went to the ashram in engineering, after that I applied all of the practices that I learned, and I also noticed that many layers got peeled off, like illusions I had about myself or self-images based on appearance, for example. So before in engineering, I was 94 kilos, big guy, doing a lot of fitness. But now I was doing a lot more yoga, because this was my main priority, actually, this increasing its consciousness. And then I noticed how I was losing weight because of this transition in diet, and how it also affected my mental state a little bit, because then I saw that, okay, my self-image and this confidence is based on how I look.
Yes, I had the same with my hair. I had like short hair, styled really well always,
Yeah.
And then I was like growing out my hair, and I was like, who is this person?
Yeah.
But I loved it. I loved how, I stopped identifying so much with the body.
Yeah. Yeah, that is something that I noticed big time, and that Sadhguru helps with in a big way, because like the second time I went to the ashram, it was for Mahashivratri volunteering, and I saw the videos, in January of 2018, and I just wanted to go there really bad, and I had this blissful memory of being in the ashram after in engineering. So, but I went there, and in January I also learned Angamardana, which is I think is a nice side way. I'll just elaborate on that because I was at the time also part-time health coach, and fitness, running, knowing what to eat, all these things. So I had this whole image about myself, and I went to Angamardana training with a teacher called Ra in The Hague. And this was super confrontational. Like, I could not bend properly. It was just not possible. I could not do many of these exercises. And I'm like, I'm the fit guy. What's happening? I'm not fit at all. So I really hated it. I really had so much frustration, coming up in this weekend of learning Angamardana. I don't know if you, because I heard that you also
there is actually I had someone on the podcast who shared the same. He was like, everybody always said I'm the strongest guy, and here I am doing Angamardana, and I can't do, like, I feel like I'm the worst person doing this. I feel like I'm not strong anymore because I'm not able to do this. And so for me, I was already out of the gym when I did my Angamardana. I was already at the ashram for some month, and I was already doing other practices, so it was still hard, I would say. It was not like The other ones, they felt, actually no. When I came to the ashram, even when I did Surya Kriya, I was not able to touch the floor. You know, I was just able to go a little bit beyond my knees. I thought I'm never going to be able to touch the floor, you know. So
This is, yeah, this sounds like my kind of experience as well. And the same with sitting in asana.
yes, yes, yes.
Like in engineering, for me, it was like it was just agony. It's just, sitting in
Mm,
asana was so painful. And I wanted to, progress in this path fast and go all the way, but I just felt there's such a limitation.
mm,
But this all changed, and hatha yoga is a great
yes,
contribution to this, because I saw that not only my body was becoming more flexible, but the mind was also becoming more flexible.
mm,
So it's just so powerful. And in terms of fitness, because at the time I stopped going to the gym, I stopped running. I wanted to go all out for the for yoga and in this way. And then after like half a year of only doing Angamardana, I actually went to the Swiss Alps and did some hiking in the mountains. And this was quite a challenging hike, but it went effortlessly. Like, I'm not kidding, without any training for it. Just doing the yoga and just doing. At the time, I only did Putta, Shuddhi, Angamardana, and Shambhavi.
mm.
So yeah, it's amazing. But
Wonderful. Yes, it's very
to
powerful
go,
actually.
yeah, definitely.
The yogic practices, like whenever I go hike, I feel like I'm almost levitating. The body is so light because also the kriya, you know, the kriya works upon that as well to
Yeah,
lighten the body. But hatha yoga is just amazing how your body feels when you do it.
yeah, yeah. I agree. It's the sense of lightness, in everything. And my girlfriend actually told me that my posture really changed, became
Mm,
more upright, and yeah, like she could really see the transition happening only within this 6 months of doing Angamardana.
mm,
And but yeah, to come back to the story also of shedding layers, because once I came back from the Netherlands, from in engineering back to the Netherlands, I signed up for volunteering for in the engineering program there, that was happening in The Hague. And yeah, since then I've been volunteering for every program that's here in the Netherlands, and also in London, actually, some other programs. But it's just a beautiful way of becoming, um, yeah, no, or not becoming, actually shedding layers. I was often confronted with limitations. So like the first time I did I did the volunteering, the food and sleep was like very important for me.
mm,
And this also, this health aspect again. You read so much about, oh, you have to have your 8 hours of sleep, you have to
mm,
have certain foods in this in that time in the day, and this was not really possible during the volunteering. And it's just so nice to see that every time I do the volunteering, I notice that this is not a problem anymore. But yeah, I also went to Mahashivratri for volunteering, and this I was really confronted with so many limitations, such a short time period, because it's pretty hectic. I don't know if you've been there during Mahashivratri with volunteering. Yeah, it's like not a lot of sleep, at least in my experience. And I also got ill there. Like I catched a bug, so my health was lagging. I did not sleep much. There was not a lot of space for anything. Like, so I just got confronted in so many ways with limitations. So the first time in the ashram was like very blissful for me. The second time it was not nice at all. I
mm,
had an aversion do it, but by going through this, I was growing so much, and I've noticed this, like every time I encounter some aversion to something on this path, that this is where the most amount of growth is. It's like with Angamardana, I hated it, but I did it, and I noticed all of the benefits that gave me. And with volunteering, similar situation, and also the willingness that I gained from that, by just giving myself and not thinking, what about me? You can just do anything and just go with it, and all these things like sleep or food, they're not an issue. And I really am grateful for this opportunity, and I can really recommend it as well, to everybody, to, if you're doing Shambhavi, also try to volunteer, because for me it made such a big difference. And in Mahashivratri I lost, I think, 6 kilos, in a week. It was crazy. So when I came home, my mom was like, "Oh, what happened to you? You lost so much weight." So in terms of my identification with the body, that was dropping in a big way.
It's a very powerful experience, volunteering. Karma yoga. It's, yes, same. I can relate to that. Just thinking, this is what I want to do, this is what I don't want to do, this is what I like to do, this is what I don't like to do. And you get into those situations where you are forced, you have to do something that you don't like to do. And then at some point you just dissolve into the activity, and you find yourself in a blissful state, even though you didn't want to do it.
That's really my experience as well. And I was typing a message to you, I think 2 days ago, because last week we were fortunate enough to receive Sanidhi home, which is a yantra consecrated piece for in the yoga room. And just like within a week, so many things already happened within me and with me as well, because normally I don't really like to be in front of a camera sharing things or sharing things publicly. And this week I got, like, you were asking me to come on. I'm like, okay, it's on now. I think this is already Sadhguru's grace, working to cross even more limitations. So
how's that? How's the house? How's the space feeling? Receiving?
Yeah, it's beautiful actually. Even though it's not activated yet, because this is a necessary step. We imported the Sanidhi from the ashram, and normally if you received Sanidhi, then a Sanidhi Ishanga will come over and do a certain process to activate the Sanidhi. And this I think will make it even more vibrant, because I've been into friends' houses where they have a Sanidhi that's activated, and there it's like it's very tangible, the energy. And it makes it easier to come into a meditative state. At least that's what I already notice here in our house as well. Just to like shunya, even if it's not in the same room, it becomes deeper of an experience. My other hatha yoga seems to go also more fluently, more effortlessly. I really feel this in a big way. Also with Samyama sadhana, it's just like I'm gone for a certain time, and I wake up and it's already so many minutes past. So it's a huge blessing, and I'm very grateful.
I didn't know you did Samyama. That's so awesome. So you went through So when you were there for the Mahashivaratri, you went through other programs as well, and then you
Yeah.
did Samyama?
Yeah, indeed. So this was 2018, and then after Mahashivratri, I wanted to learn Buddha Shuddhi, and I wanted to learn all these other programs. So I went again to the ashram in December 2018 for BSP Bhava program, and also for the Shunya intensive was happening. I did some general volunteering and also the Pancha Buddha Aradhana. And so my initial plan was to then go for Samyama in 2019. So I applied for this as well. But I just noticed when I was there preparing and doing these other programs that it was like too rapid for me. Like I was learning yoga asanas in November 2018. Then I think Surya Kriya early December 2018. BSP end of December, and then January I was going through Shunya intensive, and then Samyama was supposed to happen in March. So
that's intense.
It was a mission impossible, it seemed, but I was just driven. I wanted to go there, so wanted to experience this dimension. I had this longing, inner longing, but I noticed that the body was just not ready. So it did not happen then. So I had this was 2019, and an interesting year because we were we were planning, my girlfriend and I, to travel from the Pan American Highway. So you've been to the Americas and South America and Central America, and we also wanted to see this for ourselves. And so we had saved a lot of money actually for about 2 years to do the Pan American Highway with a van. So the plan was to go to Canada and then buy a van there and then drive up to Prudhoe Bay, which is like the northern part of Alaska, and then drive all the way south to Argentina. that was the plan. But because so much already changed for us because of yoga and because of the path that we were on, because this initial plan started actually a bit before yoga and in engineering. So this is actually a funny story, because at a certain stage I came back from the ashram in February 2019, and then in April we bought the tickets for Canada, and we had the tickets. 2 weeks later, in a weekend, I came out of my meditation and something was like, no, we should not go to this Canada and do this big Pan American Highway trip. We should do something else. And then we were playing basketball outside, Chantal and I was just telling her, like, what if we do something else completely? What if we go to Kailash, to Kailash with Isha? And she's like, yeah, maybe we should do it, because I can't remember why we were actually going in the first place. So, we changed the whole plan. We canceled the tickets to Canada, and we applied for the Kailash Yatra as soon as possible, because normally the registrations, they close at the end of April. And we were fortunate enough to have found two places for one of the groups that was going to Kailash for that year. So yeah, that's crazy, but it happened like that. And
how was that?
So we went to. Sorry.
How was the Kailash?
Yeah, it's really it's hard to describe, actually, to be in that place, like, except for the astounding natural beauty. Just you're up there, it's like very high altitude. I think the highest that we were was 5,070 meters at Kailash, at the place that we were staying. It's just like an extraterrestrial landscape. It's like very, very, very different from anything I have experienced before that. But just the energy going with the Swami, going with the group, you go through certain meditations and you really get prepared for it, and they take really good care of you as well because you're such a high elevation. So they have medics, two doctors on the team. So yeah, they take really good care of that. But the experience was really, really beautiful. And even though we went with a group that did not include a satsang with Sadhguru, so Sadhguru was not there physically, I really felt his presence along the way. And also with a certain process that we did in front of Kailash, I was just in tears again, with just bliss, and after that stillness, utter stillness. And something like that, it really shifted something within myself, because when I got back, I had certain plans, and because we changed this plan of traveling, and I had this idea of quitting the job as well. We was supposed to do this for the traveling anyway, and then start like health coaching business full time instead of part time. But when I came back, I actually didn't want to do anything. I was if I could sit here, I was totally content, and I did not feel like doing much activity at all. So, and but yeah, that fire that I had for being there for Samyama and to experience this dimension, that got even more. The fire was even burning even brighter. So that's why I decided, okay, I'm just going to fully focus on being there at Samyama the coming months, and so do a lot of sadhana every day, so that I could be prepared for Samyama. Hopefully, that I could have the chance to be there, and that happened in this year actually. So in March, I entered Samyama, and yeah, it's what can you say about such an experience?
It's wonderful that you're keeping it up. I do as well, but I had a time when I was like, what is this? What is this practice? It's so hard to grasp it because it's so subtle. But it's growing with the practice.
Yeah, for me as well. And I have to say, not every day I do the Samyama sadhana. Some days I do it, and some days I don't. It depends on the day. But it really sets me up for the rest of the day, because I want to be in presence throughout the day. And I notice that when I'm focusing on this breath, if I'm observing the breath, it helps me to be in that presence throughout the day. And so that
I'm sure
really
the samadhi will also increase or intensify the practices that you're doing.
Yeah, this is already the experience that I have, and it's not even it's not even activated yet. So it's insane. It's really such a blessing. I'm very grateful for it. And yeah, overall, I have to say, it can be so overwhelming, like not only to have these experiences of utter bliss and stillness, of knowing that yourself or myself is something I can be so grateful for, but also just all these limitations that are dropping off. It's just freedom to choose how you are in every moment. And yeah, it's really overwhelming sometimes. Also, walking in nature can be now so overwhelming. It's these small things. I don't have to do anything big, you know. Like I said, I don't have to do these things, but when I do, it's even brighter. Like last summer, we went for a road trip through Europe, and I've never experienced traveling like this. You know, like being present, and then the sounds are way more pure. The smells are purer than before. Just everything seems enhanced in a way that I'm very grateful for that. And also in terms of my relationship, because you know, my girlfriend and I, we have been together for about 15 years now. So yeah,
50?
15.
Yeah, that's
One
long.
time.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. So in secondary school, we met, and yeah, we were 14 back then, and she yeah, we've been together for a very long time, and I noticed that when we were both going through in engineering, after that many things changed. So like I said, my intention of going to through in engineering together, I already explained what the intention was, but once that also started to happen, you know, also illusions fell away between us. So some of the relationship was also based on insecurity, and therefore you stay together, or you know, it's some other motives, and these dropped off. You know, and I don't know if only was the in engineering that made this possible, but also we did a ritual with Devi. It's called Sarpa Seva. And in that ritual, I think you combine the energy cords.
The snake.
Yeah, with the snake. Yeah, that one. Yeah, you don't combine them. You fuse the energies of two people. You can do it with a sibling as well, with friends. It doesn't have to be with your partner. So yeah, that could also have led to certain situations, but for us, it has been very like bumpy in the beginning as well. Once we were doing Shambhavi, many things happened that shed layers in a massive way. But yeah, even though we had turbulent periods, we are still together, and actually, it has been better than we could have ever imagined, because we are, you know, we are quite content and happy, joyful within ourselves. So when we come together, it's now, you know, adding of joy, not extracting someone's joy, or that I'm in need for something. So that's why I'm with my girlfriend. That dimension, you know, was torn off, and what's left is really beautiful. So even in that sense, I'm so grateful, and yeah, and also to have this privilege to go through this together, and supporting each other. That is really, yeah, I'm very grateful for. Yeah.
That would be my question. You just answered the question that I had in my mind. How did the relationship evolve throughout time? So wonderful how it happened.
Yeah, it's and we already had been to some turbulent periods, because when we were 14, after half a year, her parents decided to move to Australia. So we had a long distance relationship for 3 years, actually, the first 3 years. And yeah, so we have been to some turbulent periods already, but this evolved in something really beautiful. So that's really nice. And we've been engaged like for 5 years now. But yeah, I was thinking about how beautiful it would be because there's like a wedding ceremony as well in the ashram, at Linga Bhairavi. So yeah, we were discussing this, how beautiful it would be if you could go there and experience it. So yeah, who knows? Who knows? And yeah, I think another thing that I really like is that even though I did not have any background in any of this, spirituality in my family, nobody is doing anything with spirituality or yoga, or friends also. Like now, when I come to India and, for example, visit a temple that I, as a Westerner who just got introduced to this dimension 3-4 years ago, am now able to sit at the linga and feel the energies and make use of these energies. It's just amazing, because like this is maybe an interesting story, but when I went to Kailash last year, after that I also wanted to see Kashi and wanted to go to the Himalayas, Kedarnath temple, and I went there by myself. And even though I was dressed as like a Westerner, and I had access to these energies. I could imbibe in these energies because of these tools that Sadhguru gave us, that opened up these energies and amplified it. I know how to be there to make use of it, and it's just amazing how wonderful that is. And I can also see the difference, because there were also people there that they come there to ask for prosperity or for certain things, and the way they handle such a situation is sometimes like a religion. And and there are actually some people there that they abuse such a situation. So they say, if you give me money, then I can give you the blessing of the deity here. And if you know a bit more of the background and subtleties, then what Sadhguru is providing us in many of the articles and videos and sharings, it just allows you to to really experience it for what it is, and that's wonderful. Like I went there and I did not really know what to expect. I was really tired actually when I went to Kedarnath and climbed up the mountain, because it's quite a steep climb. Have you been to Kedarnath?
No, I have not traveled in India yet.
Okay.
Still needs to happen.
Yeah, I can really recommend it because it's so beautiful. Like last time I had a plan to, after Samyama, to visit some of the temples in the south with one of my friends who was there for Samyama as well, and we called ourselves like the Linga hunters. Just go to these powerful lingas to feel the energies there and sit there. And this is really something that is very much appealing to me, and because of these tools, it's also possible for me to experience it as such. And Kedarnath was a really good example of that, because when I was there, I was all climbing up, and very tired when I arrived in the evening. And after a while, I had this idea of just walking circles around the temple complex. And because I learned this through an article from Sadhguru, that if you have a powerful space and you walk around it, circumvent it, then you create a certain vortex, and then the energies will be going in that direction. So I was like, okay, let's do that. And then the chant. So I did the Om Namah Shivaya chant. I was walking there, with my bare feet around it, and I felt a lot of energy coming up, and then I felt, this is something's happening. And So I was walking 3 circles, and there were these three sadhus sitting there next to the temple structure, and they are saying, come, sit with us, and come on, have darshan from us. And so I saw them sitting there, and there was a beautiful fire. So I was like, okay, I'm going to sit there, and then with the fire between me and the linga. So because I also learned through, Sadhguru and through experience that if you have a fire in between, it creates an etheric sphere, and this will enhance the energies of that place, so you can even feel it more. So then I'm gonna sit there after the third round, and so I sat there, and something just happened. Like a lot of energy came up, and I felt very blissful, and tears were streaming. But it was a bit of an awkward situation, I think, for some of these sadhus, because I was going in a certain state, and they said, "Oh yes, this is my divine blessing. This is because of my presence that you're into this." And then they wanted to sell me wine and hashish. And yeah, in this ecstatic state, I managed to say, no, I'm already high on divine, like like what Sadhguru also mentioned. And so this was really such an clear example as well, like how these tools opened my structure up to experience this energy, even though I did not, even though there were also, sadhus selling all kinds of things. If I did not know any of this, then I would probably go with that, because they look very, legit. They're all ash smeared and sitting there, and so yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. That's a very interesting experience for sure. I will definitely get a list of lingas that I have to visit from you.
Yeah, I will share it gladly.
So yeah, I think I'm out of questions. I don't know. Is there anything else left that you feel like you would like to share?
There's nothing that comes up. No.
Mm. And I would just thank you for opening up and for sharing this all of your experience with me and whoever listens to. I feel like such a wonderful journey, trying different techniques out, traveling a lot, which I always say, when you travel, you really open your perception, your mind, because you get exposed to new things, and you try different things, you try different foods, you get to know different people, different language. It's like a new program. So really, really interesting and very similar journey in terms of not the same, obviously, but for me, always, all my life I thought I just need money and travel, and that's it.
Yeah,
So
yeah, that's also what I was focused on, and also, becoming successful and in business and all these things. And yeah, it's funny, like a couple of weeks ago, my grandma, she asked me, "Hey, Rob, what happened to your big dreams, of owning a big company?" And you used to be all excited about that. And yeah, that really, like, a lot changed, actually. And also what you say about the hair, because this year, this is the COVID look, I call it. Um, Especially also after Samyama, like, I don't feel intrinsic motivation, to do my hair with wax and all these things. And I actually that all really changed. But sometimes I get these questions. Yeah, for me, what the focus is actually to contribute, and that was already there. When I was in Australia working for Nature Conservancy and helping people with their health through the health coaching. But I saw that through volunteering and through this process with Sadhguru that consciousness and awareness is really at the root of every solution. Because if you are conscious, then you can actually make a change. Otherwise, also in coaching other people, I can hold their hand even and show them, if you eat like this, if you exercise like this, then you get the health benefits. But once I'm not there anymore, I see, especially 2-3 years ago, before this consciousness dimension was not really part of my life, I saw that many of them fell back in old patterns of behavior, and so it didn't lead to anything, to any transformation. But if you're conscious, you can make the right decision in every moment, and you can see what the result is of every action. So many of these sufferings, they come because of subconscious patterns of behavior and action. But if you can see the action and then the result, then you can choose the right action in every moment. And this relates to how you treat the environment. This relates to how you treat your own body, how you treat other people. So that's why I want to be part of this in such a huge way, by volunteering and in any other way, because I see it as a solution for the world as it is now, and how we can improve it just by being conscious, and yeah, that's beautiful. And also to really do something back, because I have received so many things. That's how I feel it. It's like I want to give back now. It's time that I do even more of that, and then go beyond all the limitations to be able to do that. So that's the focus, and I think you are contributing in a big way as well by giving people a platform to talk about it, and so I'm very grateful for that as well.
Yes, thank you. I really appreciate you coming to the podcast and breaking the limitation of feeling like I don't really like to be in front of the camera. This is something which is really interesting. Before I went to the ashram, all my life I was thinking about, I want to become a model, I want to become an actor, I want to be in front of the camera, I want to be famous and all of this. And at some point I was like, it doesn't look like I have the talent. It doesn't look like I should pursue it. I just should just leave it. And then I came to the ashram, and then they asked me, like, do you want to do an interview? And I was like, oh, why me? Why? And then things were shifting, and they were kind of pushing me into it, and I got featured in some videos. I did some shooting with some shirts, and I was like,
I saw you. Yeah.
so interesting how all my life it is what I wanted, and then I got it, and I was like, it's not really that wouldn't have fulfilled me, but here I am doing it now. So yeah, thank you for breaking the limitation and sharing.
It's my pleasure, and also to just go beyond these aversions. It's just with everything. I feel that I had an aversion to India, and then I was going there, and it brought me so much. I had an aversion to yoga. Really, I saw, like 4 years ago, I would say, oh, yoga is for people who don't want to really sweat when doing physical activity. I really felt like that. With Angamardana, aversion, waking up 5 in the morning,
Yes.
with Wim Hof, going into the ice cold water, big aversion. And every time I go there in that
You're still keeping it up? You're still having cold bath regularly?
Not regular, like I do the cold shower in the morning. That's what I do, but I don't go out as much now for cold tips. But I'm actually the last couple of weeks very much appeal to that again, because I want to come together with groups of people and actually do a bit more of that. I see that many people are now, like opening up to other alternative ways of life, also with barefoot running and barefoot walking. Like I would like to combine these aspects of meditation and and then for
Cool.
now, because
Yes.
this is what I can do now, and later on maybe if the programs start happening again, we can coordinate some of the programs again in engineering and the Hatha Foundation Hatha Yoga programs. But yeah, for now we just have to roll with what we got, and I noticed there's more interest towards that. Even Justin Bieber, he was mentioning Wim Hof on the Ellen DeGeneres show a couple of weeks ago. When I was going to Wim Hof in 2014, everybody was thinking I was some kind of a nutcase or loony, and now even Justin Bieber is mentioning him. So yeah, I think we're going in a
Yes.
wonderful direction.
Absolutely. Absolutely, yes. Things are happening big way right now.
Yeah, it's speeding up. Also with this COVID thing going on, it's just going so fast. Like, because people are now also getting into a place of aversion or discomfort. Where the transformation happens. It seems so. Whether you choose it consciously, or you go to it, or you're pushed to it by some illness or like virus happening or pandemic, I think in both ways it leads to opening up of the mind and this aspect of consciousness. So for me, I feel it's a kind of a blessing, even though it's not always very nice for many people. It's it's speeding up the process.
I agree 100%. Yes, it's an opportunity.
Yeah, definitely.
I think we can close it here.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you so much again for the opportunity. I think I will be doing more
You should.
of getting out there, because that's where still a little bit of aversion is in my behavioral pattern. So
you should. Yeah. It's a wonderful way to communicate to people that this is not something that only people on the mountains do. In the caves, regular people who do regular things, just ordinary things, they use these tools to enhance themselves. And I love how you were speaking about the senses, because that was one of the big parts for me as well, like being able to smell flowers from a far distance, like being able to just perceive things that I was never able to. And so that's like, isn't that already worth doing it? Like all your senses are just alert and awake.
Yeah, no, really, I really feel like that. And also, so about a year ago, I was still working for a company as a business development manager. And what I noticed then is that actually the amount of work I could do in way less time. So I could do my work for a day in 4 hours sometimes, and that was actually very good, because that allowed me for more time for sadhana. But it's just that, like, on all levels of life you get enhanced, it seems. So even if you're not looking for that, it's still like a side effect. And that's so worth it. And in the morning, if I have a meeting at 8:30, I'm there and I'm switched on. I don't need the coffee, don't need nothing. And they people notice it, and that also is a great way to spread it, actually, because after a while, when I was working in that company, we also organized a free offering session of Upa Yoga with Shivangi, our Hatha Yoga teacher. And people, they're really having the benefits of it. My CEO at the time, he had difficulty with his neck, so he tried the Upa Yoga practice, and he could solve that as well. And yeah, it's just wonderful how many benefits there are for people who are doing it.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Let's close it down, and please send me the list of the lingas.
Oh, I will. Maybe I can even join you, because the last trip that we planned after Samyama, it didn't go as planned, because we had to get back out of India. We were on the last flight out of the country on the 21st of March.
Wow.
But the plan was to visit the southern lingas and the ones of the elements.
Yes.
And the Jyotirlinga is there as well in the south of Tamil Nadu. So now, I would still like to see them, actually.
I'll definitely, at some point. I don't know when, but definitely I want to see more of India.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
All right. Have a beautiful Saturday evening.
A few moments later.
Actually, it's funny, because I've seen you in the ashram quite a few times. I think two or three times, but it was always from a distance. But I remembered it actually when I saw you, but it's nice to now finally meet you in person, and it's really, really great what you're doing, the work. And it's funny, because you remember we had this talk on Messenger about Nassim and how you
I just bought him. I just bought the R crystal today.
Really?
Yes. I completely forgot that we talked about this.
Yeah.
Yes, Yes. I bought it today. I was like, it's done. I'm getting this.
Nice. What did you what made you decide to get it eventually?
So the reason why I didn't get it is because I don't know anything about it. I don't know anything about the science. I have never researched this. I don't know anything about Nassim's work. I don't know.
Yeah.
I only know that I went to this pyramid and I stood there, and suddenly people were doing Om chanting, and I was like, what? Here I am coming from the ashram. I'm going into an Airbnb. The person that's owning the Airbnb is a yoga teacher, and I'm going to the pyramids and people are doing Om chanting. What is this? What? Like, so many, just synchronicity. And so I turn around and I see people with the crystal, everybody's like around this crystal. And I'm like, what is this? And so Nassim is there and he's like, all right, everybody, we just opened the grid, feel the crystal. And I'm like, okay. And I go there and I'm like, let me see. So I put my hand on top, and my hand is like burning, it's like heat, intense amount of heat in my hand.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's intense. What is this? And the person that's holding the crystal, the 64, 64 arc crystal, this, like a big, huge.
All attached to each other.
Yeah. She turns around to me and she's like, here you go, and I didn't ask. I didn't have the band on. I didn't pay,
Yeah.
And so I was like, all right. And I took it in my hand and I closed my eyes and I started to
Whoa. Yeah.
And I just shoot up into somewhere, and I was just just smiling. And then somebody was like, okay, I think that's enough. And I was like, I opened my eyes and I was like, there you go.
Yeah.
And then I turned around and I walked away and I was like, what was that? And so Adam came up and he was like, uh, he was laughing. He was like, I know what just happened, And I was like, I don't know what just happened. And so he started to like tell me things that he saw about me. Like he had
Yeah.
a vision of me and he was telling me about the vision that he had. He was telling me about, he took off the art crystal that he had, he put it in my hand and he was like, he was like moving his hands and he was
Yeah.
telling me, I'm going to show you the this field, the field that's surrounding you, that's always present. And so he was moving his hand and I was feeling like something was protecting the crystal, like there was
Oh.
some shield, and I could feel, I don't even know how to describe it, and I was like, what is this?
Nice. You
Yeah.
know what they say about these places? That they are portals. They say that these are portals to intergalactic portals where energy comes into the earth to be distributed into the grid, an energy grid of the world. And people go there with crystals to soak up these energies and to actually capture the energies in the crystals. And I was also introduced to this concept only this year, and I started watching a documentary or series on Gaia. It's called Initiation from Matthias de Stefano. I don't know if you've heard about it, but this is like an indigo kid from Argentina, and he remembers from a very early age. He remembered all of his previous lives. Right up till the very beginning of life. So, and he said that he was sent here as a messenger also to share this with the rest of the people. So he starts explaining about the history of the world and also about ancient civilizations, about sacred geometry, and how sacred geometry is actually are the building blocks in a way of the whole of creation. And yeah, that's where this whole dimension started to open up. It was like January of 2020, and I think because of this search for sacred geometry and also doing research, because he was saying some things in the series, and I wanted to do some double checking, online and see if there are clues for this. And I think because of that road, I end up with Nassim, who has this. Online university where you can learn more about sacred geometry.
Feel free to subscribe, like, and share, comment, and we will be very happy to have you join on more Sky.